Okay, welcome to California Traditions at San Juan Bautista, and today we're continuing on tooling the Anquera for the Moraga saddle, and we traced out the pattern, laying out the drawing on the paper that we did, and then that's where we left off with our last video, and so now the next step that we're doing is going along with this tool, which is the early version of what we would call a swivel knife today. And for all of those of you who might be leather workers and familiar with modern leatherworking tools, and so this is kind of like the original swivel knife. And so our next step, after we've traced out the lines, then we'll of course have to dampen our leather a little bit. And so then I'll go along and just kind of like do a shallow cut, following the lines that I traced out. So this works almost as well as a swivel knife, I guess. And then our next step is I'll go along with this beveling tool, and that's so a lot of times we'll use a beveler like that, but this actually works maybe a little bit better, and it's a little bit faster, I think, at using this tool rather than the beveler, and it'll give you like a more smoother beveled line.
So with this one, you'd use a hammer?
Yeah, I'd use a hammer or mallet.
Oh.
But I still use this some. But for the most part, I like using this tool whenever I can get away with it. Yeah, and the interesting thing about the tooling of this Moraga saddle too is there's some some three-dimensional elements to it. And so here we have this leaf, and then it comes around and then forms like a three-dimensional element, and which is fairly sophisticated tooling that was done in early California, it seems. And then I kind of rock this tool to try and get around some of the finer edges of it. Another application of this tool, this kind of cutting tool or line emphasizing tool, is to like fill in like a crosshatch sort of pattern to suggest seeding and flatter in the center of a flower, or kind of giving an extra textured dimension of the tooling. And so I can do that with this. I'll just go along, and then I can do a little bit of a curve so that's not like straight lines, and maybe give it an organic look if it's not like totally straight. Cross-hatching effect, I guess. And then if we want to deepen the line a little bit, I'll emphasize the line. I'll use that tool. one of the interesting things about the Moraga saddle is the backgrounding, and it appears they used something like this, which is a stitch marker, and then just put in these rows of dots to form a background.
Really?
Yeah, and then this is an old stitch marker that came from my parents' ranch. But that looks like what they used in the original Moraga saddle for the backgrounding, and so that was really interesting detail that I hadn't seen before for doing backgrounds. Yeah, so
Pretty effective?
yeah, it's really pretty effective, I think, and a new one on me, and since I had a chance to take a look at the original Moraga saddle, so maybe we'll leave it at there until the next time.